gentlemen, thank you for your testimony on a really important topic. I wanted to ask all four of you very quickly. First question is in terms of access. I read somewhere that over 5,000 high schools don't allow recruiters on their campus. Maybe that's wrong, maybe that's right, but what's your experience in that regard? Are there any high schools in America who are saying to you all, hey, sorry, we don't want you here? My view is we shouldn't allow that, right? If that high school doesn't want the Navy to come recruit, then whatever federal funds that high school is begging for, they don't get a dime. Similarly with universities. I went to a university that banned ROTC for over half century. Pathetic, in my view. They're talking about leadership, and then they kick off ROTC. When I went to Harvard. They had a club called the Spartacus Youth Club on campus. It was the club dedicated to young communists, but they didn't allow Army, Air Force, Navy, ROTC on campus. Shows Harvard's values. But again, under federal law, universities are not allowed to ban ROTC on campus or they lose federal dollars. So my first question to all of you is there anywhere you have seen problems with access, either universities or high schools where they just tell you, hey, sorry, you're not welcome here? And maybe we can take it for the record. I'd like a list. Right? Defending the nation is everybody's job. And if we have high schools or universities who are saying, sorry, Army, you're not good enough for us, the Congress of the United States, the Senate should know. So just very quickly, have you run into that? Are you hearing about that? Somewhere I read about 5,000 high schools, which to me seemed like a lot.
So that seems like a lot. That's not what we're seeing in the Army. It's not so much that access is a problem. What I would offer is, I think, meaningful access. Wherever a young recruiter shows up to a particular school, they'll say, absolutely, you're welcome, but we'd like you to set up your recruiting table, let's say in the cafeteria at 1600 on Friday. Yeah. So meaningful access, okay. We can get your help in terms of having our young recruiters share their story across all of the U.S.
Any other thoughts on that? And then again, I would like, if you don't mind, all of you to take that for the record, maybe a little bit more of a deep dive, because it's really important. And if there's a couple of high schools or universities who are banning you guys, I'd like to know.
Likewise, meaningful access, and what we notice is inconsistency in that access, where one school will allow you to come in on a weekly basis, but another maybe only on a monthly basis. So that's the access challenge, but broadly speaking, we're not seeing any denial of access.
Okay, General?
Senator, thank you for the question. What we did see in school years 21 and 22, where recruiters basically lost the ability to run a year-long high school program due to the shutdowns due to COVID.
Right.
So what we have done in the Marine Corps is an aggressive training program for our Marine recruiters to run an effective high school program with periodic access. We're seeing this is working. It's really getting that muscle memory back where our recruiters are frequently visiting all their high schools.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
General?
Senator, thank you for that. I would agree with my colleagues across the board here. COVID did put a natural hindrance, I think, in access to schools writ large. We're not seeing systemic any schools, but I will take the point for the record to get precision back to you. But to their point, it is it's conditional access rather than full fettered in certain aspects. And so I think that aspect is what is very critical, is to be able to do that. General Bowers, we have also, coming out of COVID, part of our training program was to reinforce the operations to get into the schools so we could reconnect with them. But I think that, so you have that piece of it, but very much so, I've not seen systemic denials, just qualified access.
Great. Let me, Mr. Chairman, I'll wrap with just two questions. General Davis, you talked about this issue, which I think is a really big one, how the number of people who are serving has diminished, so you don't have the connection that you would normally. Are you working at all with veteran service organizations or groups like that? And that's one question, and then just trying to get these under the timeline so the chairman doesn't gavel me out here. General Bowers, now I'm a little biased here, but I do know a little bit more than some about Marine Corps recruiting. And I know that in the Marine Corps, and your bio is a good testament to this, there has been a tradition for decades to put the top Marines in recruiting. It's tough duty because you got to make your mission every month, but it also kind of helps you in terms of promotion, right? So at the end, it's not unusual at all to see several general offers and even commandants of the Marine Corps who had done recruiting before. And so that's an ethos that I think has been healthy, where it brings the top military officers and enlisted Marines to do recruiting. So you think that's a model that's helping with regard to the numbers that the Marines are meeting? And I'd be interested in the other services looking at that model. But General, can we start with you?
Yes, sir. So absolutely, I'm actively engaged with the VSOs. I have traveled extensively to speak at their conferences, either VFW, you name it, Foreign Legion. Just recently, I've sent a letter to every retiree in the United States Army through the ECHOs to ask all of them for to really a call to service to help us out there get the word out as influencers.
Great. So that's a good partnership.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. General Bowers?
Senator, thank you for the question. It absolutely is a factor in the Marine Corps. It absolutely helps our culture, the ethos of Marine Corps recruiting, having our best Marines, our best commanders out there on recruiting duty to attract and inspire the youth of America.
Great. Any other, General, Admiral, you want to comment on either of those two questions?
Absolutely. We are engaged with our veteran population, and it's part of a broader effort for our war on talent and call to service by the entire fleet. What we know from our historical data is that if a recruiter walks out of his or her front door, it typically takes 10 individuals for that recruiter to garner one contract. If they walk out of that door with a referral from anyone, that ratio drops to 7-to-1. But if they walk out the door with a referral from anyone in the Navy, active, enlisted, or active duty reserve, retired, or civilian, that ratio drops to 5-to-1. So capitalizing on folks who have experience helps the recruiting effort.
Great. General, do you have any last comments on that?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that as well. We have bolstered our partnership with veterans organizations and other civic leadership organizations that are out there. Most specifically and most recently, Air and Space Forces Association, the AFA, has stood up its own recruiting task force as well, and so we partnered with them. Many of them have served before, and so part of this is telling our story, and if somebody is there to be able to tell the story, the Air Force or Space Force story, then that is a multiplier, a force multiplier, and falls into our total force recruiting network. We're looking to expand that with Civil Air Patrol on the near horizon and develop the TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures for them. We don't need them necessarily to be specific recruiters, but we need them to be able to be there, be present, be in the spaces, and inform what our Air and Space Service is about.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Blumenthal.
Thanks very much. Thanks for being here. The reason I came to this hearing was to ask the two questions